Alright, it seems people really hate my voice, so I'm gonna use a robot voice for this World Chalice deck profile. The deck list will be in the description for all who don't want an explanation on my card choices. Also, keep in mind that this is the EVA version of the deck. If you guys want a standard version, please tell me in the comments below. If there are enough requests, I will make a standard Chalice deck profile. Now without any further ado, let's get into my World Chalice deck profile for the March 2018 format. Starting off with the main deck, we have Chalice the World Chalice Fairy. If you are not playing 3 of this, I don't know if you're playing World Chalice or not. Lee is a Stratos for the deck that can also add itself back to the hand in order to summon with the Link Monster's floating effects. You would normally want to search the super busted card World Legacy World Chalice. It can also search a vanilla or a guard dragon if you already used World Legacy World Chalice or have no way to tribute summon it. This brings me straight to the next card, World Legacy World Chalice, which we will play 3 of. For the rest of this video I will refer to this card as Cup. The Cup is probably the most busted World Chalice card out there when tribute summoned, which is easy due to Imdic. It floats into 2 World Chalice monsters aside from itself. This includes when it is used for a summon. The Cup also has an effect to tribute itself to destroy a monster that was specialed out from the extra deck. Many people tend to forget about this incredibly handy effect of the Cup. This is like a mini Ryo that can throw people off because most forget about this effect. Its last effect is also very handy. If you live past your first turn and this goes to the graveyard, you can search a World Legacy card when you banish it. This usually searches itself, but there is also a powerful spell we will get into later that is a great search target for this. In Flood there will also be an Infernity Barrier-ish card to search, but that is not out yet. The next card we will be playing is a lone copy of World Chalice Guard Dragon. This card would be handy at 2, but after streamlining the deck, I saw that the deck is mainly just for going first, and that when this card can resolve twice, you have either already won or already lost. This card has a powerful hard once per turn effect to banish itself in order to special out a vanilla from your grave to a zone a Link monster points to. It also has a handy hand trap effect. See what I did there? It can discard itself to negate the activation and destroy a card that targets one of your Link monsters. This acts as nice protection against the opponent's targeting effects. The best situation for this card is when you can search it off of a Lee that was summoned off of a Cup. The final World Chalice card we will be playing is 2 copies of Chosen by the World Chalice. This vanilla gets you to Imdic and is summonable by any Chalice Link's floating effect. Not much to go into, this deck needs vanillas to function. Link Spider is also great with this card. It works very well with it being a fire psychic. It is a level 3, but being any tele target lets it beat out Beckoned in my opinion. Now moving on to the supporting engines. The first and most important supporting engine we will be playing is the Venus engine. 3 Venus, the Angel of Creation, is obvious for World Chalice. If you are really still skeptical about this engine, keep in mind that this deck actively uses vanillas, which the Venus engine provides. In case you didn't know, Venus has an effect to pay 500 life points in order to summon a Mystical Shine Ball from your hand or deck. Mystical Shine Ball is a 500 ATK vanilla light fairy. The effect of Venus is not once per turn, which is the main appeal of this engine. Being an equivalent of 4 monsters, Venus makes for free Link material or tribute fodder. It is incredibly powerful in World Chalice. Obviously, we play 3 Shine Balls in order for Venus to be effective. Another card we are playing to support this is 3 XDS, the Ultimate Forbidden Lord. You might say that I am going overboard with the XDS, but this build plays Skull Dreads and Ngursu for draws. It also includes Transmodify to turbo out the Venus. 3 XDS allows the chance for me to get multiple uses. XDS has an effect to summon itself by shuffling back all monsters from the grave into the deck. At worst it is a free body on board that has an effect to dump cards into the grave. At best it is a way to get 6 uses out of Venus, or resetting your extra deck. Using this with Venus is insane for obvious reasons. This deck lacks longevity due to burning your entire extra deck turn 1. If your opponent somehow outs your field, you are screwed unless you have XDS. Shuffling everything back into your deck allows you to come back and make your board again, giving you another chance to win, actually. Because your opponent probably burned through all their resources to break your board, you will probably win if you use your graveyard effects and then have XDS to recycle everything. Dandy is now banned, so the dump isn't as good, but it is still useful with Ava. It also has the potential to be quite big when you have lots of vanillas in grave. It is banished when it dies, but that doesn't really matter. All of this rounds out our Venus engine, which in turn supports our next engine. The next engine we will be playing is the Ava engine. We will be playing one Ava because it is inherently bricky, and really meant as a foolish or brilliant target. Ava is incredibly powerful and now somewhat viable because of the release of Seryuya Skull Dread. Being able to use Seryuya or XDs to shuffle it back into the deck makes it much less of a brick and easier to resolve. It can even be used if you can't shuffle it back because of how easy it is to meet its activation conditions. It allows you to banish up to 2 fairies aside from itself in your field or graveyard, then search 2 level 2 or lower light fairies with different names when Ava is sent to the grave. This makes it very nice in order to search for Lee or the next card in the engine. Ava isn't perfect, but it is still quite powerful and is a nice secondary win condition. The other card of the engine is Herald of Orange Light, which will be a 2 of. It is the best Ava target to play because Ava automatically makes it live, and it can negate a monster effect by simply discarding a fairy. If your opponent ashes a Transmodify or whatever that makes your board unstoppable, it is okay to use Orange Light to negate the ash even if it is an egg. A very good combo with this card is to bounce a card with Firewall that your opponent has. Also bounce the Ava from your grave. When your opponent uses a monster effect, you can discard the Ava for Orange Light to negate it, then search Lee and another Orange Light with Ava, allowing you to negate another monster effect. It is the only real power play with Ava and the main reason to play it at all. For our hand traps, we will be playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. This card is not the best versus magicians, but it is good against pretty much everything else. This deck doesn't have the worst matchup against magicians and really isn't hurt by anti-spell post-CD board. It really struggles versus true Dracos or lots of traps, but many side cards prevent that. Ash Blossom is more versatile than Ogre in general. With Max C out of the game, it is slightly less useful, but ashing in as Heat or Phoenix can really mess with Draco. We will play Gamisel and Radian as Cayuse. We use these Cayuse for going second, especially against Draco. Gamisel is also Judgment on legs because we are playing the Kidja Waterfront Field spell. Radian can generate powerful odd tokens on our turn, and do nothing for the opponent if we have Waterfront up, which is a problem with Kidjaing while having Waterfront since the Cayuse can use the opponent's Waterfront. Gamisel has a Judgment by removing 2 counters from anywhere on the field. It also banishes whatever it negates. This is not once per turn. Radian can remove 2 counters from anywhere to generate a 2800 attack token. It itself is also 2800 attack, allowing for massive damage. In other words, Gamisel makes for disgusting turn 1 openings, while Radian seals games and works better as removal. Keep in mind you cannot control both these monsters at once. Finally, we'll play Garnet for Brilliant Fusion. No way am I playing Lazuli and Ava. For the spells we are starting off with 3 Transmodify. This card allows me to send a monster from my field to the graveyard in order to summon a monster 1 level higher with the same type and attribute. This card is good because it turns Lee and Orange Light into Venus, and turns Ava into a Lee. Venus is busted, and if they ash the Lee you're using, too bad for them. They can't ash the Transmodify. It is important to keep in mind that this is a hard once per turn, so do not try using Ava for Lee for Venus on the same turn. A spicy play post-side versus Paleozoic or Stun is to Transmodify a cup into a Jinzo. No one will see it coming, so it will likely go off and win you that game. The next set of spells we will be playing is Brilliant Fusion, with 3 of course. Brilliant Fusion is absolutely insane when it resolves, and using Seryuya to shuffle back Garnet can make that a lot easier. Brilliant Fusion gets to send Ava, which can give you the Orange Light combo. It also gives you a free monster, and leaves the spell on board for Ningirsu. The extra normal summon doesn't really matter, but it can get you out of sticky situations. Being a link material by itself makes it not bad, but being able to send a light and offer a free spell for Ningirsu just makes it insane. The next cards we will be playing are 2 copies of Kyoto Waterfront. This card is what makes your Gamisel work, placing Kidju counters onto itself. It gains a counter every time an on-field card is sent to the graveyard. And when it has 3 or more counters it can search a Kidju. You get to keep the counters. It can also protect itself by removing one counter. Keep in mind that you want to search when it has 4 counters because the search is a once per turn, so if they ogre you and you have 3 counters, you lose your search for the turn. Now for the one of spells, and there are a lot of them. Starting with Unexpected Die, it can special out a level 4 or lower vanilla from your deck, but only if you have no monsters on the field. We play one cause it sucks if you draw it off of Nkursu or Skull Dread, you already have enough bricks to shuffle back as is. As for why it's good, it summons out of vanilla, which the deck depends on. Italy is basically die for chosen, but it is quick play and has no annoying requirement. Foolish Burial for Ava can get Lee in a sticky situation. If you don't know what this card does, you probably shouldn't play a deck this complex. Reborn straight off the ban list, obviously great to recur resources, or revive high-level links in order to link up further. Soul Charge is one of the main win conditions of the deck, Seryuya turbos it out so well. Turns your weird hands into god hands. Up to 1/3 of the games I play with this deck, I can turbo out Soul Charge. One Twin Twister is a card I can draw off Seryuya and set for magicians. I don't really want to see it on my opening, and don't exactly want to have multiples. The final one of spell we will play is the World Legacy's Heart. This is the spell searchable off of Cup, and it can recur to World Chalice monsters with different names from your grave. This can help reset your extra deck, or get more monsters to summon off your Link's effects. In the grave, it also has half of Return of the Dragon Lords. It protects a Link monster from battle destruction. Being a hard once per turn, and making bad hands worse, warrants it being a one of in this deck. We play one trap in this deck as a one of. It is the Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine. This is a trap that turns into a vanilla, and can be activated the turn it is set. This is basically die without the requirement, but has to have no traps in grave, and doesn't actually give you a chosen. Moving on to the extra deck. Starting with the Link 1 monsters, we have 3 copies of Imdik the World Chalice Dragon. Imdik is the most important card in the extra deck. In fact, if your opponent reapers it, you will probably lose that game. Imdik has an up-pointing arrow and must be Link summoned by using one normal monster, except a token. It grants you a second normal summon of a World Chalice monster during your main phase, allowing for easy access to Tribute Summon for Cup. Keep in mind that this effect clashes with the Seraphina effect. This card can destroy a monster it points to by attacking it at the start of the damage step. This punishes your opponent if they summon under an empty Link zone. This card has 800 attack, and is a wind dragon, which matters in this deck. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to special out a World Chalice monster from your hand. This effect is seen on all the World Chalice Link monsters, so I will refer to it as the floating effect. Imdik's floating effect turns all your vanillas into Sea Crush Wyverns if you turn them into Imdik first. Imdik lets you easily swarm the field and give your vanillas a purpose. It is without a doubt the best Link monster in the deck. The other Link one we will be playing is 2 copies of Link Spider. This card is good because it is so easy to bring out, and points down, unlike Imdik. Playing 2 is mainly for the extra Link, which doesn't come up too often. But with Firewall at 1 I felt like playing 2 Link Spider was a good choice. This is one of the few decks that can utilize Link Spider's spiky effect. Okay, yeah, I suck at this. It can special out a level 4 or lower vanilla monster from your hand to a zone it points to. Very useful in many combos, we'll go over it in a combo tutorial. I will make a combo tutorial if you guys request it enough and this video gets 30 likes. For our Link 2s, we have 4 of them. Starting off with Tuib the World Chalice Priestess. It has a nice protection effect, cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects when living. It can also get rid of itself in order to protect a Link monster. Really nice in order to build end boards. However, its larger uses as a Link 2 pointing sideways, a World Chalice name, and the floating effect. It is a requirement of having to be summoned using 2 monsters with different type and attribute, which is why the weird types and attributes are useful. Keep in mind it has 1800 attack. The other Link 2s are one-offs. The first of which is Proxy Dragon. The effect is pointless. Generic Link 2 with left-right arrows are all we care about. The last Link 2 we are playing is Orm the World Chalice Bloody Master. It has radiant arrows, the 2 corners. This one actually has a useful effect and good attack at 2000. It requires specifically 2 World Chalice monsters, kinda hard to make. It lets you tribute a World Chalice monster this card points to, in order to reborn any monster to the other zone it points to. This effect is a hard once per turn. Also keep in mind you can revive Venus. It is the floating effect, keep that in mind as well. For our Link 3s, we have 2 one-offs. They are Ngursu and Trigate. Trigate is rarely ever made, but it is good for when you want to extra Link, or don't have Gamisal access. Nice way to end your boards. Ngursu is a really good Link monster, requiring 2+ Link monsters. Yes, you heard me right, 2+ Link monsters. This thing is incredibly annoying to make but well worth it. When Link summoned, you can draw cards up to the number of World Chalice monsters this card points to. It is a pot of greed or even a card of demise, drawing up to 3 cards with the right setup. This card is well worth the investment, unlike certain other cards. It is also a mini Ignister, being able to pop a card from both players' field, without targeting. Best removal in the deck by far, and you can use your Dead Brilliant Fusion. Absolutely amazing Link monster, it also still gets the floating effect. Amazing card. For our Link 4s we have a Firewall and 2 Skulldread. Firewall is limited, and I already showed you the Ava combo. This card really shouldn't need explanation. If you do need one, every YouTuber has covered it. Just look it up on YouTube. Really good. We are also playing 2 Sirius Skulldread. I've already talked thoroughly about this card, absolutely amazing. It can summon Gamisal, shuffle back Garnice, dig for Soul Charge. This card made the deck, you can even soft loop it with Xdius. Always play 2 or even 3 copies in the standard build. If you don't know what it does, again, just look it up on YouTube. 1 Fusion, Seraphinate, the reason for Brilliant Fusion. If you don't know what this card does, just go to GIF. A handful of these cards are staples, so I won't explain them. Comment Inspector if you watched this far. Rapid Fire side deck. 1 Jinzo for Paleo and Stun. 3 Ghost Ogre for Magician. 3 Anti-Spell for going first in general. 3 Restrict for Draco. 3 Mind Control for Draco, and 2 evenly for just random decks. And that's going to be all for today guys, take care y'all, goodbye.